Howdy, howdy, everyone! Welcome to yet another installment of the Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring Tournament. I'm going to be your commentator, Woe, because I do far too many of these. And joining me today, we have a new commentator. And Black Knight, how about you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, this is Black Knight.
A thrilling introduction. I'm sure the masses were moved.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
But yeah, so today we have Lord of the Synth going up against Lynn the Cat, and this hopefully will be a far kinder race than what either of these players saw last time around. Because, for those of you who aren't aware, in round one, both of these racers pulled a ruby-locked floater seed. On the same day, no less. So, I know we usually pull for runners to have to go up against something painful, but I honestly am pulling today for them to get a nice, quiet, friendly seed, because they both earned that.
Yeah, they're both 0-1, looking for a win. Should be a good race.
Yeah, so let's see. It's looking like we've got a forced black mage, and looks like both of them, in different orders, are taking the same 3 party members for the other 2 spots. What do you tend to run, Black Knight? Are you more of a fighter and 3 mages person, or do you tend to roll something a little bit different?
Actually, I've been going with fighter, thief, black and white mage, or sometimes I'll throw a red mage in there. Seems like casters are the best thing to take.
Yeah, I mean, between the speed-up fixes that we've had introduced to the spellcasting animations and the, you know, just sheer number of solid spells you can gain access to, it's not the worst call.
Just don't take a black belt.
Not with this flag set, no. You're not going to get enough experience gain to really get the mileage out of that black belt, unless that Temple of Fiends Revisited just turns out to be a nightmare. But yeah, otherwise, I think, we've got a solid matchup. Both of these runners have demonstrated that, they're willing to fight their way through seeds that are absolutely brutal. I know Lynn the Cat is still traumatized from his last tournament race. Lord of the Synth, I know, is also relatively new to the Final Fantasy Randomizer. I've seen him do some Dragon Warrior stuff in the past. But it is one of those things where it is fairly easy to kind of come out. And speaking of coming out, we're off to the races. Alrighty, so I'm seeing some Ice 2 and some Fast at level 1, the Black Magic Shop. And... what was that?
You got a pro ring in the armor shop.
And Cure 4 at level 1 White Magic, so that is not a bad setup point. I didn't quite catch how much that pro ring's going for, but...
it was pretty expensive, like 23k.
Yeah, so we're probably not going to be seeing much of those unless we see some good treasure pop up.
Yeah, it's not really worth that much for just a couple absorb.
Well, I mean, it is 8 absorb. It is the strongest gauntlet in the game in terms of armor value, but yeah, we're probably not going to see that unless something nasty has a death attack.
It does protect from rub.
Yeah, I believe it protects from most death elemental attacks, so we at least, it does at least have some merit beyond the absorb, but yeah, it is definitely a situation where, unless you really need that defense, you're probably not picking those up unless it's just to fill out your bar at the end of the game. So Lynn the Cat is the first one into Temple of Fiends, and actually finds a bridge. So that might not bode well for getting an early canoe.
We'll have to see what the princess gives him.
Speaking of which, he's about to face off against Garland, so we'll see that going here in a second. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth is looking like he's taking a little more prep time, picking up some armor and weapons before heading up to Temple of Fiends. Either way, Lyn is through that first fight with Garland and on his way to encounter the king and princess.
And he gets the cube. Oh, cube and floater. This could be a quick seed.
That depends on where that canoe... Which, granted, is almost certainly going to be at BK the Pirate. Unless... You don't need canoe to go turn in that TNT. And that would just be rude. Because I think the only place that the canoe could be without that, well, without the canoe, would most likely be at Sarda, which means you'd lock canoe.
Yeah, you would need the ship and the TNT to get anywhere.
Yeah, but since the TNT doesn't have to be an incentivized chest in these flags, that... Let's just hope that the pirate has a canoe that he's going to hand off. It's not quite a ship, but that's the boat you want the pirate to be handing you right now. There are runners, because... Yeah...
Yeah, I would be praying for the canoe. Looks like Lord of the Synth is in the temple.
He's about to grab that bridge that Lyn is going to cross as soon as he can get away from these imps.
What did they call that? The Sparkle Bridge?
It's only a spark over bridge if it doesn't lead to anything. Spark over bridge is a term from Dragon Warrior Randomizer for a bridge that leads to a single tile that has nothing on it. The term as used by Dragon Warrior Randomizer folks with regard to this is a bridge you find after you no longer need the bridge. In this case, we very much need the bridge.
Looks like Len's heading towards Matoya.
It's not a bad call. You get a little extra cash for picking up spells and provoke and whatever other gear is handy. Then you have to talk to those brooms. You can learn interesting and arcane powers.
Well, he found a great axe, which is a pretty decent weapon.
Yeah, no, you can definitely do worse than the Great Axe, and I don't think Lyn's going to complain about it early on in the game. He's definitely going to want something with a little better accuracy later on, but...
Well, early game, it helps a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, at this point, nothing's going to be evading your hits well enough for you to not connect, though... These, wolves and imps are doing some work there on Lyn. And sadly, while Cure 4 can fix a lot of problems, being dead is not one of them.
Yeah, there is no restoring from the dead.
Yeah, at least until we find Life or Life 2, which... You know, maybe we'll find it here, maybe we'll find it in Crescent Lake. Or maybe this will be one of those seeds where they're where they're 7 or level 8. Regardless, though, Lord of the Synth has cleared his princess and will probably soon be following after Lyn the Cat on the way to Provoca. But let's get a peep at these level 2 magic shops.
Well, there it is, Life.
Yeah, level 2 Life and level 2 A-Rub. I would probably be tempted to pick that up just because of how expensive those pro rings are.
Well, Fire 3's there.
And Bane, so, you know.
Pretty decent spells.
You got level... you got Ice 2 and Fire 3 at level 1 and 2. That's going to carry you through a good part of the game. You know, you're probably hoping to see Nuke when you get to Elfland, but if you got to make do with those spells, you can do a lot worse. Synth getting his credits, and chat pointing out that we did also see a 4K Silver Sword there. So, plenty to work with here early on.
And Len's taking out the pirates.
Yeah, that usually is what happens when you hit him with Ice 2. So here's the moment of truth. What are we about to get? Alright. This seed is back on track to be okay.
Oh yeah, once with the canoe, you go pick up the floater, you go wherever you want.
Yeah, so that's at least something that both of these runners are going to be glad to see, is the seed playing a little nicer. And there is the crown as our vendor item in Provoca.
It'll be interesting to see where they go next. With the spells they have, he could do a dive into the volcano. Or even play for ordeals.
Yeah, I feel like they're probably gonna not want to hit ordeals until they've gotten a few more levels, just because some of the stuff you run into in ordeals can pose difficulties. Len at least is going to be making a beeline for that airship, though, it looks like.
And we have unrunnable ogres.
Yeah, that's not the worst thing to see as an unrunnable. You know, early on you're going to at least want to take a few of those fights anyway.
Unless they have something nasty like rub.
Yeah, but I don't think that we've seen anything too bad from the ogres aside from their big meaty fists. So, yeah, the river always makes me nervous, because if the Caribs roll something unpleasant, then it can make, you know, taking these river routes really obnoxious.
Oh yeah, I've seen them with Lightning 3 and a few other nasty things.
Yeah, I think I once rolled a seed that it was like Fire 3 Caribs, which, speaking of which, Lord just picked up his and is going to at least peep those silver swords. Silver Sword, of course, being one of the better weapons to pick up in a shop until you can start finding your magic swords.
I didn't see anything too good in level 6.
Yeah, I think Cure 3 and Exfer were kind of the highlights, and maybe Brack if you're into that sort of thing. Our Sage, on the other hand, hands us off the slab, which we can go turn that in as soon as we take to the sky, which is nice. Alright, and Lord of the Synth is about to, looks like, clear out his pirates, and discover that the seed is not going to be the worst possible thing that can happen to him.
And Len's running into some giants.
Now, either way, we've got the airship, so... you mentioned how you expect they're probably going to head to the volcano. Is that the move you'd be thinking of making at this point, if you were given these kind of item drops?
With the spells they have, I would probably head to the volcano first.
Just with the intention of clearing it, or going ahead and just looting the armory, and then, if it looks a little bit ruder, go from there?
I'd say raid the armory, see what you find, and then, hit up Carrie if you got the levels for it.
Legit. And it looks like we get a vanilla rod out of Sarda, so... nothing too exciting on that front.
Now that opens up access to Lich.
Yeah, I know a lot of runners are not particularly fond of hitting Earth Cave until close to the end, just because, it's not a huge concentration of chests, and it can be a bit of a slog on the lower floors.
You do run into a lot of zombies and stuff down there. And depending what those mobs have, it could be a rough time.
That's an interesting move on Lynn the Cat's part. I usually see the spell shops, the magic shops check before the item shop in Elfland. But I don't think he walked into any of them.
Nah, it looks like he just hit the inn and took off. So he's gonna go raid the Titan's treasure.
Yeah, he was looking a little skinny on gold, so he may have just been putting it off until he has the cash necessary he wants.
Yeah, I think he's hoping for some money here.
Money, or at least something that'll make it easier to earn some money.
And nothing but junk.
Yeah. On the other hand, Lord of the Synth finds a sun sword lying around in the dwarf cave, and that is not a bad pickup.
No, that's a nice find. That sword will carry you to the end of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, if nothing else, it'll make sure that your red mage can do a little bit of damage toward the end, even if he's not hurling spells around.
It looks like Len is hitting the Cardia Islands.
Yeah, not a bad play. Okay, there's the money he was looking for. Wow.
Yeah, that's about 30,000 right there.
Yeah, that'll get him a good way through the game.
So he should be able to stock up, buy some spells, and be set for a while.
Yeah, definitely. But he's at least going to finish clearing out the island just in case there's a good bit more that is useful to him. And he just decided that cave wasn't one of those things that was going to be useful to him.
There's Zeus Gauntlet.
Now that alone's going to probably get him to walk this out. Lord of the Synth is going to give us a look at what these item shops have, and that is Temper and Saber at level 3 Black Magic.
Those will definitely help out.
Yeah, and we got Harm 4 at level 3 for White Magic, which, it's not Fade, but when you're up against Undead, it's, good enough to make your life a little bit easier. Take a little bit of casting pressure off of your Red Mage and Black Mage.
Yeah, it's nice against Undead, and it's a different level than Fade, so you don't have to waste your Fade charges on them.
Yeah, that's true. Invis 2 at level 4 White Magic, so that's also a nice surprise, and I believe Did Lynn have enough money to... Yeah, of course he had enough money to grab the crown, so... You know, he's went ahead and picked that crown up.
And there's Nuke, level 4.
Yep. Which means we're not going to see too much Zap strats today.
I wouldn't even waste my time with Zap. No pun intended there.
I get it, because it's time elemental. It is time elemental, right?
I believe it is.
Okay, good. I get it, because it's time elemental. I'm sure they'll fix that in post. But yeah, so... Lynn's gonna go ahead, looks like, and do that crown chain, gain access to a few more locked chests before he starts needing to actually dive some dungeons. As this stands, we still need to locate the bottle and the loot, which are almost certain to be at Ordeals and Waterfall, I believe, at this point.
Those will be the most likely locations.
Yeah, if they're not in those locations, something has gone terribly wrong.
Unless it's...
Which... Go ahead.
Unless it's down in the ice cave.
Ah, right. Every time I forget the ice cave is an incentivized spot. I don't know what it is.
Marsh Cave is also incentivized.
I don't know if it is in this flag set. I think it's just ice and ordeals outside of the NPCs.
Well, I stand corrected.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, depending on how things go, you can see marsh dives happen. I know the race I was commentating on yesterday actually forced a marsh dip for TNT because the floater was, I want to say, the merchant item in OnRack.
So it looks like Lord of the Synth is going to pick up his airship here.
And it'll be interesting to see what route he takes through the air now that he has his wings. And like I said, I'm sure both runners are relieved to have an airship 20 minutes in.
It's always nice to have an early airship.
And also nice to have an early ribbon, as Lynn the Cat just found one over at the Northwest Castle. Oh, I missed Life 2 over in Crescent Lake. That's not a bad spell to find at level 6.
No, level 6 is pretty nice. Can they even cast it yet?
Oh, no, they can't. I don't believe that they have access to it yet. I admit that I'm a little bit sketchy on my White Mage spell access, but that is still a very good thing to see for the end game.
So Len just picked up the adamant, swapped in the dwarf cave.
And the black shirt, which is going to be nice for when he hits Black Wizard.
That's the shortest walk ever.
Well, sometimes the dwarves are just lazy.
Met a few times.
But you know that key's been sealed away for a long time. I'm sure that they just didn't realize that the adamant was just over in their storage room.
So Len's gonna check the chests in Temple of Fiends right now.
Ooh, and unrunnable gargoyles. That is going to be obnoxious, because we have not seen either exit or warp yet, I believe. So he's going to have to deal with 3 forced gargoyle encounters on top of whatever else the RNG decides to throw at him. I mean, I guess it could be worse. It could be unrunnable gargoyles, because those always have something, but this is still annoying.
It's annoying, but it also takes away the unrunnable from something else that could be worse.
This is very true, and it doesn't look like the gargoyles have anything painful, but...
Oh, there's defense.
You know what? Yeah, that defense sword actually probably makes it worth it.
He also found the wear sword, which could could sell for some cash, I guess.
Now, considering that he can't really move that Sun Sword down to his Red Mage until he finds the tail, it'll at least do some work on his Red Mage. Give him a little extra offense. And yeah, it looks like Lord of the Synth decided to head straight to the Cardia Islands, which, again, is not a bad play. Did he actually get that slab from the Circle of Sages, though?
I don't remember seeing him pick it up.
I think I saw him do that, but, you know, it wouldn't be the first time in this tournament someone's forgotten that they need to go talk to that particular sage. So, might wait to see when he pulls up his items next to see if it's sitting there or not.
Oh, I know from personal experience about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's just the one of the dangers of the NPC shuffle is if you forget an NPC's there, it can just bite you. And it's looking like Pro Rings are actually in like the 13k range, so we may see a pickup out if they find a couple of more high-value chests.
Yeah, I think once they get some more money, it'd be worth picking up a few.
Yeah. Like I said, that, especially on your mages, that 8 absorb is not anything to sneeze at. Meanwhile, it looks like Lynn the Cat is taking his massive windfall and investing in bolstering up his potion supply.
And he's buying some real estate.
Yeah, no, that is not a bad call, because you're eventually going to need to refill on those houses. Well, okay, refill on your magic using those houses. So far, neither player seemed inclined to go near any of our dungeons, but I think Lynn is starting to run out of non-dungeon locations to go to, so I would expect he's going to make a move here in the near future.
Yeah, I think both of them will probably head towards the volcano.
And here we have a trip to Melmond. Ooh, there's that exit we were wondering about. Sitting in the level 5 shop along with Fog 2.
Yeah, Fog 2 and Exit, definitely both nice to have.
And there's Warp along with Quad X, so... Level 5 magic for both of your teleport spells. And if you're so inclined to pick up a Cat Claw, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny in this seed.
It seems like the Cat Claws are always expensive.
Now, I believe that is relatively close to vanilla. Like, I think it is one of the most expensive items in the game.
Yes, they are.
Lynn the Cat, meanwhile, is doing his spell pickups over in Elfland, so...
Oh, he picked up Nuke.
Yeah, so... He's probably in good shape there. So I think Lynn the Cat is sitting at around level 7. And it does look like Lord of the Synth did have the slab and just got his translated. So he at least will not be providing us with any Lupa today. And Lynn should not be too far behind him heading to Melmond.
No, that should finish up their business in Melbourne.
Yeah. Which, you know... Always a good thing. You don't want to spend too much time down in Melmond. not really a great town, what with the whole getting ruined by a vampire thing.
It's almost like Detroit.
I feel like that's probably insulting to Detroit there. Melmond is kind of terrible. Like, Detroit at least has hospitals.
Yeah, that's true. Theirs got destroyed.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I guess the real question, though, at this point is, are these runners going to do any grinding before they start dipping dungeons, or are they just going to take some fights along the way? And let's see here.
Well, they both have nuke and plenty of black magic, so they shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, but, you know, it is always one of those things that kind of comes down to how comfortable you are with trying to quick draw some relatively strong enemies for your level. And Lynn is at least back in the Crescent Lake area. Alright, it looks like he's going to be taking some fights around Crescent Lake to pick up a few more levels before he starts diving. Lord of the Synth, on the other hand, is at least also heading back to Crescent Lake. Looked like for a moment there he was thinking about Volcano, but he may have just gotten lost.
I think he's just stocking up on potions.
Not the worst call. You know, I know a race yesterday, it was a couple of days ago, I think, we had a race where, you know, both runners forgot to stock up on heals before they headed into Volcano and wound up having to actually use Life 2 to keep their party's health up by just letting characters die and then restoring their health with Life 2. Which, it was a level 1 Life 2 seed, so it actually was not a terrible plan.
It's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, you start getting access really quickly, and you forget that you never actually did your rudimentary shopping. I would point out, though, on Lynn's side, that we are seeing some unrunnable peds, which, is nice from the perspective of farming peds, but is also not nice when the peds have the ability to stun and apparently hit hard enough to drop a fighter in a few swings.
Yeah, they're definitely hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, but Lynn gets through it, and his mages are at least going to pick up a couple of levels off it.
The good thing is the clinic's right next door.
Yeah, that really is the nice thing about leveling Lake, is you can usually pick up a good encounter within the first few steps, and you got healing right inside the door. So one of the things to probably consider is whether or not either of these runners is going to just skip out on the, tail. They do have Excalibur, or at least they do have access to Excalibur already, and see any sign of the Mosmian. So I would assume that both of them are going to dig out the tail no matter what, just to have the ability to equip some of these later game weapons if the Mosmian doesn't show itself. What do you think?
I would definitely be looking out for that tail. Class change makes a big difference.
Yeah. Here, on the other hand, we kind of see the flip side to the unrunnable Pede situation, since you can bump into them in the higher floors of the volcano. And that does not make for a very good time when it comes to your health. Ah, Trance! That's what they have that was stunning, folks. I missed that before.
Yeah, these peds could be a drain on your resources.
Yeah, fortunately, though, you do have that exit and warp sitting around, and you do have the ability to very quickly bypass the floors the peds are on if you have a decent idea of what your encounter table's looking like. Yeah, Lord of the Synth just had a think there, and I think he's probably considering going and grabbing a couple of levels somewhere else, or it looks like he's going to go dive Ice Cave. See if the encounters there are a little friendlier.
It's not a bad move to make.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about this randomizer is, Ice Cave is actually a little gentler than it is in vanilla in a lot of ways. Like, some of the nastier tricks that it can pull get shuffled off to other places where you might not even see them.
He's got spells available to kill everything in there, and the chest is incentivized, so you could find something good down there.
Yeah. I can't remember, was that warp in the spot that his party could learn? I think it was the top black magic spot, or maybe the second black magic slot.
I didn't catch it. He's got a black mage, so he should be able to learn it.
Yeah, I think level 5, though, is where you start getting into the spells that only black wizards can pick up and that sort of thing, so... again, I don't generally have these things memorized, but I'll go look this up while we're kind of deciding where to go from here. Although it looks like Len's made up his mind, he's gonna head toward Onrak and Waterfall.
That's another good spot. You can pick up a few levels and check the chest in there.
I am surprised he's making the Waterfall play so soon, though, considering how much trouble Waterfall gave him in round 1. But, I guess the way that you confront traumatic experiences is just through them.
Yep, you gotta face your fears. So according to the strategy guide, Warp is learnable by the Black Mage.
Well, it depends on what slot it's in when it comes to the randomizer. So if Warp was the second slot on Black Magic, then it would be learnable by the Black Mage. But if the second slot is not normally, at level 5 is not normally learnable by the Black Mage, then it's not available. But it's kind of a moot point. Well, I was about to say it's kind of a moot point because Lord of the Synth's about to show us whether or not he has Warp, but he kind of ran into some trouble there in the whole floor of the Ice Cave. So he's going to have another think, it looks like. Try himself. I would say at this point, he might want to consider doing some maybe outside Crescent Lake, maybe heading down to... Is he going to make Marsh Cave?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. I guess he's looking for fights that he can win while still giving him the ability to look for stuff, which I guess isn't the worst move he could be making right now.
With Nuke available, he could do a POP grind.
I'm not sure he's high enough level to cast Nuke is the only problem. Okay, he's got at least one cast on his Black Mage, but...
And it only takes one fight to level up.
Yeah, we have a question in chat, level 5 in all of those spells. Yeah, the seed's been fairly generous with money in some of the free chests, so both runners have been able to kind of pick and choose what spells they want. Yeah, Len is in a much more comfortable position, though, right now, with his party, in the 11 to 13 range. And if he doesn't pick up a level off of this encounter, he'll probably be pretty close to another level after it. And question chat, Marsh Cave? Yeah, I suspect Lord of the Synth, he's run into a few kind of rude encounters in the Volcano and Ice Cave, so he may be looking for levels somewhere where he can still check chests. And that is a loot pickup from the robot on Lynn the Cat's side. So that's another one of our required items checked off the list.
Always good to find that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Edge Figure in chat bringing up an excellent point that Marsh Cave is generally not required here in the Swiss round, just because of the way that key items and treasure chests are incentivized. That being said, there are still a good number of chests down here, so if you feel like you don't really have the equipment situation you'd like, it is an area that you can dive for some easy levels if you're not comfortable taking on bigger fights at the level you're at. And, you know, if you feel like, you know, your opponent might not go in your Marsh Cave because they don't have to, it's not the worst gamble because you might find something that they're going to miss, like an extra ribbon or the Mazamune or something similar.
Yeah, if Maza's down there, that's a game changer.
Absolutely. I mean, even a second ribbon might prove very useful for Lord of the Synth. Just because that ability to make sure two of your characters have full elemental coverage can just make the difference between whether or not Temple of Fiends Revisited, you know, forces you to make 2 dives, or solo the last couple of bosses.
Alright, Wen's headed into ordeals now.
You know, chat pointing out that Marsh Cave is not a great stretch of the imagination, but it is that is available. And depending on how you feel about going up against your opponent, it may be a gamble that you feel like you have to take. I'm not sure what Lord of the Synth is thinking, although I do believe he is unaware of the linked chests in Marsh Cave. Seeing as he's already checked the north side and he's heading for this chest here. But again, if he's also thinking about trying to kind of, you know, get up to level 8 or 9 before he goes and does, say, Peninsula Power or something, these extra steps are going to help him in that regard. Meanwhile, Lynn the Cat has found his way through the Pillar Maze, so he's going to be checking out these chests at the top of Ordeals.
So it looks like he picked up a program.
Yeah, that second... Ooh, and a Pro Cape. Pro Cape, for those of you who are unaware, counts as a shield slot item and is actually one of the stronger shields in the game that can be equipped on any character. So that's always a nice pickup for, say, your mages. Ooh, and that is a Whiz Mummy with Blaze. I don't think we saw that during the trip through the Waterfall Cave.
No, I think he killed everything there pretty fast.
Yeah, that one just, I think, got a low roll on his cleaning spells, so... But both players making that level 1 Cure 4 very, useful. Ooh, and those are unrunnable sorcerers. That could come into play a little bit later in the game.
And Len's not taking any chances with him.
Yeah, vanilla sorcerers you definitely don't want to take chances with, but even with Shuffle on, sorcerers can still be a headache. And there's our bottle. So, Lynn the Cat does have a choice now. He knows that he can skip out an ice cave. That's going to have the tail. But he does also know he's got some very solid in-game equipment. If he class changes. So I think it's going to come down to whether or not he is willing to, you know, make that side trip to Ice Cave, at least try to dig the tail out using Warp. and go from there.
Yeah, rooms and wall at level 7.
Yeah.
Gold bracelets aren't bad for 6.
Alright, I just pulled it up. It does look like he should have that warp spell ready for in his inventory. We have not seen him pull up his Black Mage in a while, just because you usually don't need the Black Mage's menu except for warp. But
and Lance buying some gold bracelets. It's a good buy.
Thank you, Tristal, for that 1-bit cheer with the phrase minimum effort. And kind of while we're in this little lull here, while Len is picking up his Oxtail, we would like to thank Randomania for, well, Randomania 3 and the Randomania Network in general for hosting us. Shoutouts to Ryusei Shin, our restreamer today, as well as Papa Foy's, our tracker for today. Be sure to give not only Randomania 3, but all of the Randomania channels, Randomania through Randomania 4, a follow if you haven't already. And there is a second ribbon down in Marsh Cave. So, LordoftheSynth, where was that first ribbon? Do you remember?
Unfortunately, I can't remember where it was.
Well, hopefully LordoftheSynth will eventually find his way to where it was, because having 2 ribbons will go a long way toward kind of helping LordoftheSynth out in ways that Linda Cat does not have. And that'll, you know, kind of bring this race a little bit closer.
The second ribbon will definitely help, and Len's over here making some stakes.
So which side of the force do you fall on, Black Knight?
I am definitely on Team Stake.
Yeah, as I mention every time the question comes up, I myself are on what I like to call Team Coin Flip, where you run with 2 characters, attack with 2 characters, and let RNG decide whether the Tyro lives or... I believe you're right, that Solar Strix is right. There was a ribbon in Keylock Dwarves. So, to answer Will's question, right now both runners only have 1 ribbon, but they found them in different places, so there are at least 2 ribbons that we know of. And Tristal is also apparently a fan of the coin flip strat when it comes to the Tyros, so I'm not alone. So, if nothing else, LordoftheSynth did get something out of this dive that could come into play down the line. And if he doesn't go to check dwarves, then it at least keeps him evened up in terms of equipment access.
It will definitely make the game a little bit easier for him.
Yeah. Len looks like he is now going to make that volcano trip. And considering he's at almost 10 levels higher than LordoftheSynth was, I suspect he's probably going to have a little bit easier time diving in here. So this is probably going to be, I believe, our first look at what's over in the armory area. Armory, term for the chests that are here in the lower left-hand corner that are just clumped up together. And are generally going to have something you want. And shoutouts to Falconic for giving 3 times the effort that that Tristal did in supporting this channel. And there is our 3rd ribbon. So, one of the ribbons is in Marsh Cave. Lynn is not going to Marsh Cave. If Lynn goes to Marsh Cave, something has gone horrifically wrong. One of the ribbons is in Keyllock Dwarves, which Lord of the Synth may or may not go to, depending on when he finishes up his crown chain, which I do not believe he's done yet. And one of them is going to be in the armory, which you're going to check when you get to Volcano, unless you are just go-moding it. So that is an interesting situation. Especially if Lynn keeps looking for that third ribbon going forward. I don't know at what point he feels comfortable saying, I've got enough. I would assume with 2 ribbons he would be fine, but, you know, that may come into play if he decides to go out of his way a little bit looking for that third ribbon.
Yeah, definitely diving Marsh Cave will take some extra time.
Yeah, it's time he's not going to spend. He doesn't have to go to Marsh Cave, and no one likes Marsh Cave. Meanwhile, we have an unrunnable Wiz Ogre and Cerebus encounter. That's an that's an unusual problem to have there. And it looks like Lynn is just beelining for the Agama chests. Not sure if that means he's planning on just grinding them or what, but you know, with that Sun Sword and that Excalibur, he may just be thinking that, you know, he's in a decent position at this point.
He's got enough he can take out Carrie right now.
Yeah. And he knows where that tail is going to wind up. Yeah, it does look like he is doing at least a few more Agama fights. Maybe trying to get his level up to 17 or 18.
And Lord of Synth just got trolled.
Just a little bit.
Fire 3 takes him right out.
Yeah. With this flag set, I doubt we're going to see Lynn do too much grinding on the Agamas. Maybe get his party up to like 16 or 17. Something where by picking up fights the rest of the game, he'll be at a comfortable 22, 23 by the time he hits TOFR. But he is definitely looking to pick up at least another level off of these Agamas before he goes on. Lord of the Synth, meanwhile, has limped into Onrak. And is going to probably hit the inn up before delving deeper.
Lightning Freeze at level 7. That would be a good pickup.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more questionable of a pickup just because I'm not entirely sure that's in a Black Mage learnable spot. And, you know, you're going to have to if you come back later, you're probably still not going to have that level 7 slot until close to the end of the game.
Yeah, being such a high level, he might not get many charges for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things I personally tend to not even, you know, really check the 7 and 8 shops unless I kind of just want to know what I might not have access to. Although that's more often the case if I'm doing a entrance shuffle that includes towns, where it's just like, well, I found Gaia, so I might as well stick my nose in the shops and find out what can't be in the towns I haven't found yet. Alliger Brap in chat pointing out that you do need to hit level 20 to get one charge, I assume, of level 7 magic. So, you know, it's not, you know, it's one of those things, if you have the chance to pick it up, it's not the worst idea to pick up that Lit 3, but I'm not sure either runner's going to go for it. LordoftheSynth has made his stop off an on-rack. I don't think he actually went to the waterfall cave, so that is an interesting decision to go to on-rack but not turn around. And again, I think it may be a feeling low level situation. And yeah, aside from the Agma chests and the lower left armory chests, it looks like Lynn the Cat is just going to go ahead and kill Carrie. I'm not sure we're going to see very many more of him, except maybe in Mirage or Sky Castle.
Alright, Lord's gonna make the same play, going after Carrie. Or at least raid the treasure.
Edge Figaro in chat asking if enemy formation frequency shuffle randomizes the different overworld areas that share the same encounter table. And I believe the answer to that is yes. Even if two zones have the same table normally, if the frequency shuffle has been shuffled, then those zones will have different shuffles. And so it is entirely possible, for example, to see 4 different formation ones outside of Crescent Lake, depending on which direction you go. And Lynn the Cat having a stunned fighter against Carrie, you know, not a great situation, but having 2 nukes makes it a little bit easier. But yeah. Speaking, though, of the fight order shuffle, shoutouts to the dev team on Final Fantasy Randomizer. If you're not a member of our Discord, they put in a lot of work to make this randomizer happen, and they are very good at what they do in that regard. You know, they're constantly thinking of new and interesting things to make the game both more interesting and more random. I know they are currently alpha testing their entrance and floor shuffles, which one of those matches is ridiculous. But, you know, they've done a lot of other stuff that we'll be seeing deeper into the tournament. Like, you know, NPC shuffle, that just scratches the surface of what this randomizer can randomize. So, you know, I just want to throw that out there. And if you aren't already on the Final Fantasy Randomizer Discord, I'm sure someone can throw the link up if it hasn't been thrown up recently. And it doesn't look like it has. I'm not sure the bot is programmed to throw that link up, but I'm sure someone can drop the Discord link in chat. Ah, there we go. It is one of the friendlier, you know, Discords I've been part of personally. People are always willing to give a hand to new runners. Always happy to talk about the game, talk about what the randomizer can do, and if you enjoy playing things that aren't guaranteed to work yet, you can always come in and help with alpha testing. But getting back to the race, it looks like both runners have now decided to make a trip into Earth Cave, and Lynn is continuing to just run past everything, feeling like he's gotten all the value he could possibly want. So, you know, I am wondering if he's going to make that ice cave dip, because he does not really have anything for the end game for his fighter outside of that sun sword.
No, he may decide to skip it.
That would be really interesting, though. I don't know if because he doesn't have the power bonk as far as I'm aware. And he really the only way that he could power through the end game without that, without the class change, would be to put that Sun Sword on his red mage and then just saber his way to victory. I'm not even sure that saber is necessarily... I'm not even sure if he has saber on that red mage. So... But he is skipping chests, so I'm assuming that he also realizes that that tail has to be an ice cave.
Yeah, he could also go to Ice Cave last. Just clear out the fiends, and then go get the tail.
Yeah, he could, but it seems... But, you know, this is one of those things. You have warp available. You know, you don't have... You're already committed to not checking chests, so it's not like you care about looking at the bottom floor of Ice Cave. You know, you can take that time real quick to just check those 3 chests and then exit out. But, you know, he's the one who actually is running this game, and I'm the one sitting here talking about it, so I assume he has a plan. Let's see. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth is still checking these top-level chests on the first floor of Earth Cave. You know, just seeing what's there, probably picking up some extra levels, fighting things.
Ooh, images of
and
Blaze.
Yeah, I kind of looked away from Lynn's screen. When I looked back, I saw a whole bunch of down party members.
That'll definitely cause some problems here.
Yeah, but fortunately he does have life on that red mage, so he is able to pick everyone back up. And that to me seems like another vote in favor of going ahead and grabbing that tail, just so you also can have life on your knight. Because it should be learnable for him if it's learnable for the red mage.
It's definitely helpful to have life on with a knight.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I do not believe that we are going to spend too much time with Lich, and there he goes. See you at the Temple of Fiends, Lich, where we will probably have a similar exchange of views. So that is 2 orbs now lit for Lyn, while Lord of the Synth is still... looks like just kind of dipping in and out of places, trying to find, you know, a little bit of experience, a little bit of extra gear to help him out. It'll be interesting to see where he finally decides to start making his dungeon dives.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to start making some progress soon.
Yeah, I mean, if not out of necessity, then just because there's not a whole lot of places left for him to go. And I think you are right. You were right, Black Knight. It looks like Lyn is probably, if he's going to get the tail, pick it up right before Temple of Fiends Revisited.
I think that's the move I would make.
Really? Even with that Excalibur sitting in your inventory?
Yeah, he's got enough spells, and the Water Temple won't be a problem for him. The Sky Castle probably won't be a problem for him.
Ooh, and those Wizhogs are very early on. Yeah, that is the interesting one, is, you know, we have Unrunnable Shuffle on in this flag set, but because of the way that Unrunnable encounters are coded in the game, that group of 9 Sahag, well, that group of Wiz Sahags and normal Sahags, or red Sahags, I'll get this right eventually. This thing that Lyn is fighting is always going to be unrunnable because it is actually paired with the pirates. And so, because the pirates are unrunnable, these must be unrunnable. But it is the only encounter outside of boss fights and the pirates that is a forced unrunnable, even with Unrunnable Shuffle on.
It's always good for some extra XP.
Yeah, you know, I can agree with that. It's a fight you're going to at least take one of in here, and I did not even notice that fires were unrunnable. Excuse me, unrunnable. And waters, oof. Those two right there is going to make Temple of Fiends Revisited potentially unpleasant, depending on how the encounter order gets shuffled there.
one of the first races I ever watched had unrunnable waters. They were pretty nasty. They hit hard.
Yeah, I mean, even with the stat adjustments, waters hit hard enough to where, you know, you're gonna get a little bit of trouble from those water formations.
So they could definitely make a difference in Topher.
Yeah. And Lynn is at least checking the free chests as he heads down toward Kraken 1. So, you know, again, that's something that's potentially, you know, that's something you're going to do even if you are in full-on just charge through the rest of the game mode. Because those chests are basically free along the way. You know, you might pick up an extra fight for checking them, but, you know, you can either run away for it or clear it out for a little extra XP. Alright, so since we've hit the hour mark, Black Knight, would you like to give a recap of what we've seen so far, or want to leave it to me?
You can go ahead.
Alright, so starting out the gate, after rescuing the beautiful Princess Sarah from the villainous Dark Knight Garland, we retrieved a cube from the king and a floater from the princess. We found a bridge, actually, in Temple of Fiends Revisited, and taking that over to Provoca, we roughed up some pirates to steal their boat, which definitely did not have the room to hold 10 men, but made more sense for them to have than a full-on ship with 10 men. Taking the canoe down south, we picked the floater and proceeded to go on a bit of a tour of the world. The Circle of Sages gave us a piece of rock with some writing on it. The sage Sarda handed us a stick. Heading up north, we found behind a waterfall a musician robot who has no affiliation with Rush. And in the Castle of Ordeals, we found ourselves the bottle. The ice cave, we're reasonably certain, has the tail, although neither runner has gone to check that yet. And our merchant item was the crown. And that brings us to our present moment, where Lynn the Cat has already taken care of the fiends of Earth and Fire, and Lord of the Synth is currently digging out his volcano, potentially to go ahead and take his first fiend down. And other than that, we have actually found the location of all 3 ribbons in this seed, although one of them is in Marsh Cave. And that, I believe, more or less covers everything that we care about at this moment. And just in time for us to deal with the Kraken. You know, and it's one of those things with Kraken 1. Kraken 1 can be rude, because he gets a lot of hits, and if he rolls anything on his physicals that can cause problems, it can cause some problems.
Kraken always likes to kill my white mage.
Yeah, Lynn the Cat very wisely putting that defense sword and that Invis 2 to play on his fighter. And Kraken has fast.
So fast Kraken is definitely bad news.
I feel like I would have gone ahead and used that defense sword, done another round of defense and Invis 2, because that more or less makes your fighter untouchable even with that fast. But that is a Blizzard, which puts the Black Mage on the ropes. But he's going to be able to pull out that Cure 4 to make things a little bit safer.
And Kraken goes down.
Mm-hmm. And Lord of the Synth is, I believe... Did we see a ribbon here in the armory? I feel like we did.
Yeah, there was a ribbon earlier.
Ah, there it is. Alright, so both runners now with 2 ribbons. Lynn the Cat probably going to end the game with 2 ribbons. Lord of the Synth might still dig out that 3rd ribbon depending on where he goes. And Lynn the Cat taking that Royal Cube and that chime of his and heading into the the Mirage Tower. And I was about to say, if he does stop to check any more chests, this is where he's going to do it. Between the Mirage Tower and Sky Castle, you have probably the highest concentration of chests in the game. So if you're going to just dig through chests, this is probably where you're going to want to do it. Although I imagine he'll still skip most of the chests in Sky Castle. You know, he might surprise us.
So Len is making his way through Mirage Tower right now.
Lord of the Synth, I think, is unaware of the relative power that the Sun Sword has compared to most of the other swords. Or he may just be overestimating how strong the Ice Sword's vulnerability hitting is relative to what the Sun Sword does, even without targeting vulnerabilities. Because he just swapped that off on his fighter. Like, one of the things that the randomizer does change is it does improve the benefits of targeting elemental vulnerabilities, and also makes the elemental vulnerabilities work. But it is still an interesting decision to switch to the Ice Sword off the Sun Sword.
Most likely he's just not aware of how the weapons are.
Yeah, that is entirely possible. He is a newer runner, and that's just something you just kind of have to learn. Like, I still have to... Ooh, unrunnable giants and iguanas. That is a thing.
Hopefully they don't have something bad like crack.
Yeah, it looks like they have heat, which is not a pleasant thing to encounter, but ooh, that is some Bane strats.
Alright, Len just picked up a wizard staff, which probably won't help very much.
Eh, you never know. You might find something you can confuse, or want to confuse, maybe. Yeah, it doesn't look like Mirage Towers really had a whole lot for him. Falconic in chat, mentioning that he hasn't played a Forced Black Mage Seed in a hot minute. My words, not his. Oh, hey, there's the Ruby! And it is one of those things where, you know, the nice thing about having just one Forced party member is you can always default to Danning strats. You know, just kill off one of your party members so that the other three can get more experience for their trouble.
Yeah, and usually it's a party member I'd pick anyway. Well, yeah, Danning the forced member. Depends what they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, if it's a party member that you know how to use, then you don't need to worry about it. Yeah, I believe in the bracket stages of this tournament, we're going to see an increasing number of forced party members, but that's still easily a month out. And there is the Aegis shield there on Lord of the Synth side. So, you know, again, that's a piece of in-game equipment, class change only, that may push him toward that ice cave sooner rather than later. And he does... Okay, I think it took a minute, but he realized that you do not need the Opal Shield if you only have one fighter and an Aegis shield.
No, Opal Shield's pretty useless if you have the Aegis.
Yeah, and it looks like Lynn skipped most of the Sky Castle chests, although he is hitting these 4 right before you hit the teleporter maze, so not the worst call.
Third floor has a lot of chests, so it's always good to check those.
Yeah, but it looks like he is just hitting the 4 convenient ones, and then he is going to make his way toward Kraken. Or not Kraken, Tiamat. And here we have Mud Golems and Sorcerers. Mud Golems, if I recall, or I might be thinking of a different race I was watching before. I'm thinking of a different seed. Ignore me. Yeah, do you ever run into that problem when you're kind of getting ready for a race Black Knight where, you know, you have to kind of clear your head before you get mixed up on which seeds had which stuff?
Oh yeah, I've played Entrance Shuffle and a few other custom patches, and it's always hard to keep track of what's what.
See, I think I was watching a seed earlier that had, like, crack mud golems or something like that.
Yeah, I have seen something like that. I've also seen them with poison and a few other abilities.
Yeah. Lord of the Synth does at least find a light axe as he digs through Volcano, and that's going to at least help him out when he gets to Earth Cave. Giving him a free harm too.
Okay, so no Warmech today.
Well, no Warmech for Lynn the Cat. And technically we could still bump into Warmech trying to get to the orb. Remember, the spots after Tiamat are not actually safe.
Yeah, I believe that is possible.
It is highly unlikely, but we've already seen a lot of highly unlikely things in this tournament, so...
And Black Mage is down.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of Lynn the Cat's Black Mage. Ooh, and there's an opal bracelet for Lord of the Synth.
Looks like Len's gonna try and cure his White Mage.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing here the problem with not having gone ahead and getting that Excalibur, because it looks like Tiamat has some pretty decent absorb, and even with that Sun Sword, you're still not putting out enough damage to chip through it.
Yeah, he may have to backtrack and go get the tail.
Yeah, if not, yeah, I assume he'll make it through this Tiamat fight, if only by just rolling until he crits. But it is still a situation where he is going to want to go back for the tail before Temple of Fiends Revisited if Tiamat 1 is giving him this much trouble.
Oh, totally. He will not be able to kill Chaos with those kind of weapons.
Although he did finally, looks like, temper his fighter up enough. But that may just be critical hits going. His feed is a little bit choppy at points, so it's hard to see where the critical hits are, but that crit will do it. And he is through Chaos. Not Chaos, Tiamat. I swear I will remember these monsters' names.
Alright, so he's got his 4th orb. The question is, what's he gonna do now?
Now, for his sake, I hope that he decides to go to Ice Cave, because that is not going to be a pleasant Temple of Fiends otherwise.
He's got plenty of time. He can pick up the tail, do his class change, and hit Topher.
I mean, the question is if he realizes he has that kind of time.
Yeah, he can't see what we can, but that's the move I would make.
Yeah, I'm apt to agree. You have that Excalibur, you don't have Masamune, so you can't just carry you through. You don't have a black belt, so you can't just power level him to get what you want. But it does look like he is heading for Ice Cave, so you know that is I think the right call.
That's the logical move.
Lord of the Synth, meanwhile, it looks like has started his Agma grinding. So, making good use of that heal helmet he picked up. Not sure where he picked up a heal helmet, I'm going to be honest. I think it might have been higher up in Volcano, but regardless, very helpful if you're doing a full party Agma grind.
It's always nice to have that little bit of extra healing.
Yeah, I mean, each use of that heal helmet is saving him 4 heal potions. On top of the menuing time to use them.
Yeah, if you can get the heal staff, then you have twice as much.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things that you're generally not gonna... I don't know. You're not gonna go out of your way to set up a situation like that, but if it falls into your lap and you're doing something like the Agma grind, it's not the worst thing you can be doing with your actions. Len the cat, meanwhile, is having a much easier time diving Ice Cave.
So he doesn't even care what's in the other 2 chests.
Yeah, he is in maximum get in and get out mode. So let's see, we're looking at level 19 or 20 on his party. He's gonna go get this class change real quick. He's probably in good shape to at least scout out Temple of Fiends, see how bad it really is. Would you feel comfortable going in at this level, or would you maybe consider, you know, grinding in the early part of Revisited, get your party up to 21, 22 range, and then start the dive?
I think I'd give it a shot, because you can always take a few fights along the way and just level up as you go. The enemies and Topher give you a good bit of XP, so it's not hard to level there.
Yeah, this is true. But, yeah, it looks like Len's going to stop up in Corneria to top off his equipment, get himself squared away in terms of, you know, what he's got at his disposal. He does have 2 heal helmets, so we might see those brought into play. And Lord of the Synth checking the linked chest on the right side of Carrie's floor in the volcano. I believe all 3 of these are linked to the linked chest that is located up on the Agama floor, and I'm not sure which chest those are all linked to, but I believe it's somewhere in the armory area. But yeah, it's definitely not a part of Volcano that, you know, people normally see, just because, you know, these chests will never have anything in them. So...
Yeah, they are always empty.
Well, unless you somehow didn't open any of the other linked chests, but then you still have the issue of the first one you open will have something, and then the other two are going to be empty. But regardless, you know, it's giving Lord of the Synth a chance to pick a couple extra levels, so it's not the worst thing in the world, considering how level poor he's been most of this seed. Meanwhile, Lynn the Cat is getting his equipment squared away, although he is definitely smarting for night equipment in a way that Lord of the Synth will not be. Still, with those 2 ribbons and the spells he's got at his disposal, he is not in terrible shape to make this Topher dive.
No, he should be pretty good.
Lord of the Synth, though, is low on heal potions. Which you should have enough to make it to deal with carry, but it's still not too bad. Sferzondo asking in chat, just got in, anything crazy? Nothing too bad. We had a bridge seed leading to Canoe Pirate and Floater off the Princess, so it's mostly just been the players kind of going through and completing the game and finding their progression. Lord of the Synth did make a couple of interesting moves, like diving Marsh Cave, and did actually come out of that with a ribbon, so he's not in terrible shape. His biggest issue has been he's just not really been able to find good places to kind of gain some levels where he felt comfortable taking the fights. He's finally in a good spot, though, so he'll be making some steady progress here shortly. And that is an opal armor for him, which will be nice when he makes his class change. But yeah, would you say there's been anything too crazy in this seed, Black Knight?
No, I think it's been pretty straightforward.
Also, sorry, I just realized that I had moved a little bit farther away from the mic. I hope that didn't hurt my volume level too much.
No, you still sound fine.
Alright. Yeah, I can be a bit of a restless sitter sometimes, and it sometimes just causes me to move in weird and interesting ways, and I forget that my microphone does not move with me. I think Lord of the Synth caught this 4-bull formation like less than 2 steps from Carrie.
He's right next to her room.
Yeah, so a bit of an annoyance, but it looks like he's going to go ahead and take this fight and pick up a little extra XP before he dives into Carrie. Lynn the Cat, meanwhile, making his way toward Lich 2. Yeah, no, we have not actually seen the Vorpal sword yet. Lynn the Cat basically, once he found his, that is an unfortunate situation. Smartly cure 4ing that red mage so that he can pick the rest of his party up after this fight. I was not paying attention. Corneria, did he... Well, not Corneria, but I'm guessing he did not swing through Provoca to put life on his knight as well.
No, I don't believe he did.
Yeah. It looks like he's... I don't think he's stocked up on heal potions all the way either. Or else he's burned through a bunch on the first couple of floors.
And even if he did, he's not really at a level that the knight can cast it.
Now, it's still one of those things, if he does pick up... Like, that is the advantage of kind of doing a little bit of grinding and then leaving, is that way, when those extra spell slots can come into play. But either way, he probably shouldn't have his white mage standing up front like that. Just considering that the red wizard, A, has a little more max health, and B, you know, does not have that life 2 on him. I'm pretty sure.
Well, looks like Carrie has poison.
Yeah, and I don't think we saw that on Lynn the Cat's side.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of trouble here.
Now, he should almost have her down. There it is.
Alright, there's...
I don't think that Carrie had too much XP, or HP. Speaking of Carrie, though, we are about to see Carrie 2. But there is Lord of the Synth's first orb. So, you know, and he is heading straight back to Ice Cave to get that tail. Actually, I don't think he knows that Ice Cave has the tail yet, so... you know, this might be a few minutes.
The tail would be a pleasant surprise for him.
Considering how much night equipment he just pulled out of the volcano, absolutely. He does not, I believe, have the key, so he hasn't gone over to find out how lazy the Dwarven Blacksmith is.
Len's not wasting any time, Carrie.
Yeah, if you can just take out these fiends as quickly as possible, especially in Temple of Fiends Revisited, you do so.
I didn't see Ice 3 in his spell list.
I'm not sure did we even see Ice 3?
No, I don't think we did.
Yeah, it might be one of the level 8 spells then. And down goes his Black Mage.
Oh, Lord's running away from the Ice Cave.
Yeah, I was focusing on the situation with these unrunnable waters. I didn't think I saw him get all the way down to, or hear him get all the way down to the tail.
No, it looks like he's just going back for more supplies.
Because, yeah, at this point he has to realize that, you know, Ice Cave either has something he requires to finish this seed, or the tail, which he wants, considering what he's found so far. Yeah, I'm not too fond of Lynn's situation at the moment. That's, I think, 22 heal potions left to get through the last 2 fiends, and then patch up before fighting Chaos. That's not a situation I'd be happy with.
Oh, he's getting a bit low there.
And it looks like he's going to make the decision to leave his knight out front going into Kraken.
But hopefully the encounter table's nice to him and he can just make it through.
Yeah. And I assume that he's doing that mostly to make sure that his life casters are going to be on their feet.
Kraken
and
just hit him like a truck.
Yeah, and that is the risk of doing that, is you wind up with your knight face down.
That was like 8 hits, 600 something damage.
Yeah, and that is the problem that Lynn is going to have, having run through without really finding much in the way of knight armor, is he does not have the kind of absorb you normally would have on a knight. So, Lord of the Synth may still have a fighting chance here, especially if Lynn decides to try and just force this instead of backtracking to look for supplies.
Well, he just reset out.
Yeah. So, Lord of the Synth is finally going and doing his crown chain, though, so... you know, he'll at least probably be picking up that Excalibur to go with the class change that I'm sure he is going to be doing before he does any more dungeons. Oh wait, he never got the tail, that's right. But still, it is one of those things where Lynn is not looking at an easy Temple of Fiends by any stretch of the imagination. Especially with as bulky as those waters are and them being unrunnable. So, we might need to buckle in here, folks.
Yeah, Kraken's like the big bouncer there.
And it looks like he is going to go grind on the earth floor before making another attempt. You know, get those levels and then get them out.
I think if he picks up to like 23 or 24, he'd be in a better position.
Well, that probably would at least give him an extra swing on his knight. It'd give him a few more spell slots to play with. So he's definitely going to want at least a couple of levels just to give him a little more survivability, but... you know, I'm not entirely sure what armor he has on his knight, but it is still probably not anywhere close to the kind of armor that the class change opens up for you. Because he made the decision to stop checking chests really early on in this seed. Yeah, meanwhile, Lord of the Synth has a key chain, and he is going around to check everything. You know, at this point, his big issue is just, well, he needs to not get blazed by that image, for one thing, but, you know, he also needs to, you know, he needs to start clearing out some dungeons if he's going to catch up to Lynn here. And even then, catching up to Lynn is probably not going to happen without a lot of misfortune in Temple of Fiends Revisited. But again, that being said, Lord of the Synth does have a gear advantage in what he's found so far. So if he can catch up to Lynn the Cat, he may be able to snipe this one away from him just by being able to weather the worst that the Temple of Fiends can throw at him a little bit better.
Yeah, and stranger things have happened. I've seen people spend 20-30 minutes in Tother.
Well, there is a reason that it is called the Great Equalizer, and there is that third ribbon. I guess it was actually in the Northwest Castle instead of the Dwarves, but it was key-locked, so we were close. We guessed mostly right. But yeah, having 3 ribbons, having stronger armor for his party, Lord of the Synth ale out of the Ice Cave, he's going to be in really good shape. Like, if he does make the decision to go back to Ice Cave, he's going to be able to just blast through these other 3 theme dungeons. There's nothing else he will need after he class changes. Except, you know, the endgame gear in Ordeals and Waterfall, but again, with the kind of equipment he's rocking, he can just kind of, you know, casually stroll through those.
Yeah,
for
as
his
soon as
trouble.
he gets that tail, it's go mode.
Yeah, exactly. So, Lynn the Cat making his second attempt on Temple of Fiends, it looks like. He picked up a couple levels, I think, and I think he's at the point where he's saying, alright, we need to get moving. I don't know where my opponent is. Alliger Brap asks in chat what happened to Lynn. Kraken 2 happened to Lynn. He left his fighter up front because he decided to protect his white mage and, well, his white wizard and red wizard because they can cast life. And the first thing that Kraken did was bad touch the knight for RD Platypus was kind enough to write down 8 hits and 651 damage. So,
yeah, Kraken just smacked him.
He's picked up a couple of levels, and that might be the difference maker in terms of evasion, or at least out-moving Kraken, but we'll see what happens here. So yeah, Lord of the Synth is going to just go ahead and turn in that Adamant. Can't equip the Excalibur yet, and may just now be noticing that his equipment situation needs to be swapped around some. My stream just froze up, so I'm going to need to refresh real quick.
Yeah, it looks like it just lost video for a sec.
Yeah, alright, yeah, I've got it back now. So, anyway, yeah, he is continuing to check all of the key lock chests, just like Lynn did when after he got the key. So, after this, you know, we kind of hope that Lord of the Synth is going to head back to Ice Cave because, excuse me, we know that's where his value is. Because that tail is going to give him so much value.
He's got the gear, he just needs a class change.
Absolutely. But he has no way of knowing that the tail is there, so if I had to take a guess, he's probably going to make a move for Waterfall Cave. It's accessible, it doesn't require you to deal with anything too nasty. Okay, after he checks Temple of Fiends Revisited. In terms of incentivized locations, I suspect he's probably going to follow an order similar to Lynn of Waterfall Cave, Ordeals, and then Ice Cave. Just because he knows that Ice Cave has some nasty stuff in it. He knows that Ordeals is a time commitment, and Waterfall Cave he can just go in and then exit out. So I'll be surprised if that's not the play we see from him. I believe he does already have the Oxyel, so he can combine that with a Sea Shrine visit, if he's so inclined. And that nuke Lich once again puts Lynn the Cat in an unpleasant position, but he makes it through, and he is on his way to Carry 2, which is a bit of a breather in this Temple of Fiends.
Yeah, Lich is not a pushover.
Yeah. Yeah, that anytime Lich gets something like Nuke or Nuclear early on in his rotation, you're gonna have a bad time. It kind of balances out all those times that Lich is a complete pushover. Lord of the Synth, though, part of his trouble may be his equipment situation, because he's still got a rapier on his red mage, and an ice sword on his knight or fighter, and you want to equip that sun sword to your fighter, or at least put that flame sword on your red mage. But you know that comes down to being new to the game, and kind of not being familiar with what you can put on who. Did I check these chests earlier? Back here in Elfland.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, I'm guessing he didn't. And I guess he doesn't realize you can go around the outs. Ah, there he goes.
He's taking the long way around.
Yeah. Lynn the Cat, meanwhile, is back at Carry 2. And, you know, just kind of doing some quick damage. Like I said, Carry 2 did not seem to have too much aside from, you know, a lot of hits, but nothing that is necessarily going to be a problem, per se.
Elfland had nothing but junk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. I recalled the two castles didn't really have much for our players, but the ribbon and the adamant make up for it. Alright, and Lynn is through carry 2. Now for the floor of requirement. Because he is almost certain to draw at least one water encounter from what we saw the first time through, and waters are not playing nice today. Alright, Lord of the Synth is making the right move, though. He is heading back to Ice Cave. And with that second ribbon in tow, he might actually be able to make the progress he wants to make. And Lynn manages to make it through the water floor without dealing with one of those elemental groups, unless one of them is hiding behind Kraken just waiting for him. Alright, so this time he is going to put his knight to the back along with his white mage. And I think that's the move you have to make, knowing how hard Kraken can hit. You know, you just need one of your life casters to survive this fight. Or for Tiamat and Chaos to, you know, not pose too great a threat. And the first thing, the first thing Kraken does is take out the white mage. So, you know, Lynn is crossing his fingers at this point that Kraken just cannot see the color red.
That's become a meme at this point. White mage is dead.
So at least he gets some serious damage out of his fighter. Yeah. So, and with the nuke, Kraken 2 is down, and he's going to be able to pick his white mage up with that red mage of his. Alright, so next up we've got Tiamat 2, which... Tiamat 2 runs hot and cold. Either Tiamat is going to just collapse as soon as you breathe on her, or she is going to turn out to be worse than Kraken 2 somehow. Alright, Lynn once more making that effort to protect his white mage, and here we go. Almost accidentally fasted his black mage, but realizes what happened and gets right back to it. Invis 2 off of the white mage, and Lord of the Synth is checking the side chests here in Ice Cave. I did not see how much damage Tiamat just dumped on that black mage, but...
Yeah, I missed it, but one hit, he's down.
Yeah. Lynn trying to cast multiple fasts, which... Fast is not the buff that stacks, unfortunately. Valkyrie Not asks, are there multiple Final Fantasy races tonight? And I can let you know real quick.
Tiamat nukes him.
Oh, Lord. To answer the question, though, this is going to be the last race on Randomania
Tiamat's
tonight.
down, just kind of a glass cannon there.
With regard to Final Fantasy IV, there is a Zelda Ocarina of Time randomizer exhibition happening right now over on Speed Gaming Prime, and there is going to be the Super Mario Bros. 3 randomizer weekly on Randomania 2 at around 9 Eastern tonight. As far as Final Fantasy Randomizer goes, there are 2 more races scheduled for this evening over on the Speed Gaming Network. Sforzando versus Green Cleric on, I believe, Speed Gaming 4, maybe 3, at 7 o'clock Eastern.
Final level.
and then Tristal and Wilkliosis are going to be doing a randomizer at 9 p.m. On the Speed Gaming channel somewhere. So
he's putting his white mage up front.
well, at this point, he doesn't need that life spell anymore. It's do or die time. And he is putting his damage in the back. So here we go. Let's find out if this is a paper chaos today. Yeah, using that defense and casting Invis 2 out the gate. And then stacking those tempers up on the knight. And that looked like 6 hits for, and a critical hit at that, for less than 200 damage.
I think it was 193.
Yeah.
So Chaos has a high absorb here.
Yeah, that is not something you want to see. Fortunately, Lyn has plenty of tempers to go around, and that second hit hits for almost 400, so he is at least not in terrible shape.
He needs to keep stacking those tempers on there.
Yeah, as long as he can stack the tempers, he should, but there he goes.
Alright, good game. Chaos goes down.
Alright, what are we looking at for the,
This meme game is strong.
Yeah, GG to Lyn, and Lord of the Synth, it appears, has forfeited. So let's see if either of them are going to want to pop in here and have a chat.
Alright, well, good game to both of our runners.
Yeah, we'll just give them a second to kind of, gather their thoughts and decide if they want to head on in here. Well, I guess that answers that. GG, Lyn.
Yeah, congrats.
Oh, thanks, guys. What a race. It was like easy going early, and you just had a million decisions like where to go and how to stock up. It was like the complete opposite of my last race.
Yeah, it's one of those things I noticed that about the time you finished searching the armory, you just decided you were done checking chests.
I mean, I had the Excalibur, and I knew where the tail was. I knew I could make a quick trip to Ice to just get the tail to use the Excalibur. I was hoping to find, I had crappy armor. I had no bonk. So I tried Temple of Fiends a little bit too low a level, and Temple of Fiends was actually really rough, so I needed to level up a little.
Yeah, your opponent ran into some issues early on, just not really knowing where to level, and so he dipped a lot of dungeons. He actually found that third ribbon in the bottom of Marsh Cave while just kind of looking for equipment and somewhere to level.
Decided to level outside of Crescent before I went anywhere. I wanted to be at least level like 11 or 12 before I went anywhere, and Crescent's always a good spot, and there was an easy Pete encounter.
Yeah, even if it was just a battle to the death. Sforzando does have a note for you, though, Lyn. He says, quote, "Go to bed, Lyn." And we do have Lord of the Synth in chat. GG to Lord of the Synth. Lord of the Synth, if you want to jump into the commentary booth, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, feel free to hang around and chat, and we'll try to relay stuff as necessary. Here we go. All right, I'll pull him in real quick. GG, Lord of the Synth.
Good game.
GG, man. What a race.
GG. I got myself totally lost after I got the airship.
It's so early. It would have been easy to make some bad decisions and try to like go too far too fast. I really tried to collect every darn chest, and then I leveled up, and then I went diving.
Yeah, it seems to have paid off.
Yeah, I did some bad diving. I wound up actually in a state where I was too weak to dive ice or volcano. I didn't really have a good intuition of what I could take down, so I wasted a lot of time.
Yeah,
I don't like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I really don't like diving like ice or volcano under level 10. And even that's, you know, like Minochi does it all the time, but I'm not Minochi. I like to be a little more conservative. So,
I think it was level 8 or 9 the first time. I think it was 9, and I went in, and then I got 4 peds, and they had some nasty attacks, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to nope out of this.
Yeah, it looked like you had some trouble back there.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is I'm new enough to this. There's a lot to keep in your head. So there were things I forgot. Like I went looking for an ice spell when I forgot that I had ice 2 on level 1. Oops.
Yeah, this was a really tough seed because it wasn't linear. It was so open-ended because we got the airship so early. It actually kind of made it hard to keep track of what you had and what you didn't because it wasn't a linear progression.
Yeah. One thing that we noticed. Do you prefer Lord or Synth?
Synth.
All right. Yeah. One thing we noticed, Synth, that you might want to keep in mind for future races. The Sun Sword is actually the 3rd strongest sword in the game. And absolutely the strongest sword that you can equip without a class change.
Right. I know it was one of the more powerful ones. The only reason I changed off it was because I got Ice Sword, and Volcano, and wanted the elemental attack for that.
The elemental attack is not going to balance out what the Sun Sword brings to the table.
Okay, today I learned.
Yeah, no, yeah, and you also, I noticed, didn't throw any of your stronger swords on your Red Mage. The Red Mage can equip a decent sweep of elemental swords.
Yeah, I forgot to throw him any weapons. I was pretty magic driven.
Yeah, always give your Red Mage, give him the hand-me-down sword. Every time you get something better for the fighter, you can hand-me-down the sword down to the Red Mage, and he can usually use it.
Yeah, pretty much until you're hitting the knight-only swords, you can almost always put a sword on the Red Mage, and he'll make good use of it. But again, that's something that, like, you just need to kind of get used to the game to know, but that is something that probably will help you out in the future with kind of diving stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip. Like I say, I'm new to this. This is my 2nd race and my 7th seed. So you know, I have like all the equipment charts up for reference, and I don't always check them because
Yeah.
I have so little of this memorized at this point.
Can't memorize everything. I've done hundreds of seeds, and I keep the chart of weapons and armor right in front of me when I race also, so, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's impossible to remember it all.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, you know, you usually just kind of have to remember broad strokes, like, you know, named swords, you usually want to hand down whatever your fighter was using to your Red Mage, or, you know, if you have a thief, you kind of want to keep your eyes open for some of the weaker elemental swords, because that's what they use. That sort of thing. You know, I'm the last person to say anything, because I have to keep the charts open as well. But it is still one of those things like, you know, if you are having issues taking down monsters, that's something you can look at is, well, did I make sure to get my equipment in order after my last few pickups?
Yeah, there were definitely times I didn't rebalance my equipment for ages.
Yeah, so, you know, that's just something to keep in mind. I don't want to make this about telling you kind of where you turned wrong, but, you know, while I have you here, that's something I think you might want to know.
Yeah, I'm okay with helpful tips.
Synth, where were you when I finished? How far along were you?
I was fairly far into ice and about to head north.
Did you have lit?
I mean, I'd already been north to get to Cardi Islands and visit the town, but I hadn't dived any of the dungeons up there.
Yeah, if you had managed to get to the end of ice, you would have found the tail there, which would have helped you out a lot.
I was really hoping I was going to find that soon. I did not want to have to dive ordeals for that.
Yeah, Lynn, I did notice that you just kind of, you figured out where the tail was and just figured you'd save it for TOFR. I'm guessing because you were counting on your magic to kind of carry you through the Fiend dungeons?
Yeah, and it was a little bit of a mistake. Realistically, I should have gotten the tail earlier. You kind of want to get it around level 14 because that's when you start getting spells for the night. And I got it, like level 18 or 19. So I really shouldn't have waited until the very end to do it. But I was hoping to find the Mazamoon or something so I didn't have to class change.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, you can justify either call. Black Knight, I believe you were saying you would have probably followed a similar route.
Yeah, I would have checked ice caves just to see what's there.
Once I'm in go mode, I do not like checking extra chests. Even, I had 2 ribbons. I had the Excalibur. I kind of felt like, and Fast and Temper, so I felt like that was enough.
Yeah. I did also notice that you made the decision the first time through to, try and preserve your life spellcasters when you got to Kraken 2.
Kraken 2, you always can smell your life casters. I swear to God. And the second time through still went like right after my white mage, but I had life on the red mage too, and I should have learned it on the fighter, and I never did. And by the end of the game, I had like a couple of charges, so I could have used it. That was another mistake I made.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. That's usually one of the harder things to remember toward the end is, routing back to pick up those spells on, your fighter, and if you have one, a ninja. But yeah, so overall, though, I'm guessing no matter what, y'all liked this seed more than the last seeds y'all ran.
Yeah.
This was much friendlier. I mean, it was open enough that I promptly got myself lost. But yeah, I mean, it was not nearly as bad as the first round for me.
I finished this one in 148, and last seed I got the airship about 148, so this was a little bit better.
So Lynn, what was your party composition?
Standard fighter, red, white, black.
Okay, that's what I went with.
Yeah, I'm still learning this meta. It seems like that's the best party composition for these flags. I kind of like running 2 fighters or a thief, but I think that this party composition gives you the best bet to win. But you could maybe trade the red mage for a thief or another fighter. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things with these flags. You're almost guaranteed to at least know where the tail is, if not inadvertently pick it up. So, the thief is a little less of a liability in some ways.
With Spell Shuffle on, it's always nice to have that extra caster.
Good to have multiple, because I had 2 guys with life and 2 guys with nuke, and just to have 2 guys with life and 2 guys with nuke is nice.
Yes, that was nice.
Yeah, the red mage can survive a few hits.
Yeah. So I think that we probably have, I think we're probably in a position where we can kind of start giving our final thoughts on this seed. So, Lynn, why don't we start with you?
Oh, well, thanks so much for racing me, Lord, or Synth, or Lord of the Synth. This was really great. I'll have to check out the VOD to see where you had stuff, but I had a great race and a great time. And thanks for the crew and everybody who hosted and did all the work. Thanks, guys.
Yes, definitely, everybody. Thank you for watching. Yeah, GG's all around. I learned a fair amount over the course of this seed.
that's kind of the useful thing there. Black Knight, your thoughts?
I just want to say good job, both runners, and hopefully you'll learn something and have better luck next time.
Yeah, and I just want to echo that. Synth, you are jumping into this in a way I know I wouldn't have the guts to do. So, if nothing else, you deserve props for that. But for someone who's only run less than 10 of these, you're coming along pretty quick. You're getting a good sense of where you need to go. And, once you kind of get over that hurdle of knowing when you can make certain moves, I think that you'll wind up picking up a win or two in this.
Yeah. I mean, also, at this point, because I am so new, I second-guess myself an awful lot. You guys saw me go in and out of a couple things a couple times. The only time that was sort of by design was I went to Ice after I finished Volcano and realized I had no heal potions. So I went back to Crescent Lake, and then I'm like, oh, I can go buy the crown and do all the stuff, which led to a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, on behalf of, the FFR community and everyone, I first of all want to thank Randomania for hosting, as much of this tournament as they're hosting. If you're still watching this or you're catching the VOD later and haven't followed Randomania and Randomania 2 and 3 and 4, you need to go ahead and do that. There's a lot of good stuff that goes on here, and they're pretty good people. Especially Ryusei Shin, our restreamer for today. Papa Foy's, our tracker for today, also deserves a shout-out. Our runners, who put on an excellent show, deserve a thanks. And Black Knight, my commentator for this one, I appreciate you being in the booth with me. It's great to have someone who runs this game in here with me always. And, and I'd like to thank the folks who are still here for tuning in and watching. And I believe we are going to get kicked over to hosting Randomania, who are still doing the Ocarina of Time Randomizer showcase. And if you haven't checked that out, it is worth checking out. Otherwise, feel free to join our Discord and find out when our next race is. Hint, it's over on Speed Gaming 3 in like an hour. Otherwise, y'all have a good day, everyone, and thanks for being with us, you guys.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, it was a
thanks
pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh, while I have you guys on, where is the tracker for this? I track on paper, and I get the feeling that this might be slightly inefficient for this particular random.
Let's hop over to the general chat, and we'll talk about that.